Hello, Be Awesome listeners. This is episode 71. And before we get started, I got to tell you, I got to give a shout out to Jeff Bishop at Hingham Graphics. I have been driving this guy crazy for the last 2 months trying to find good new materials and fabrics for my Be Awesome gear. I just picked up another option here. We're working hard, and when I say we, Jeff has been working hard behind the scenes. If you guys have any sign, shirt, promotional item, any sort of needs, I strongly suggest you look up Hingham Graphics and Jeff Bishop. The guy is lights out fantastic. So that's my plug for the day, because I just raced over to grab a shirt. So before I could make sure I was on time for this next podcast. This is a past guest, Paul Anastasi. He was one of the first guests. This is the guy. For those of you that didn't listen to it, go back and listen to the first episode. It's a great one. Paul is a longtime friend of almost 20 years of mine. He was he is a client for my day job at Dude Solutions, and he also happened to save my life at one point in time because I ate a piece of prime rib the size of a Volkswagen and thought I could get it down my throat. But Paul's doing something else right now. He's potentially preparing to save lives, COVID cleaning school districts, and he is, as we shared last year on the podcast. Actually, that was 2018 when we did the first podcast, almost 2 years ago. Paul had retired, and I told him it wasn't going to last long, and I was right. Now he's back in the school district, and he's working hard, and we're going to be doing some education-focused podcasts, because I got a lot of feedback that folks know that I've been in the education space for some time, and I've got a lot of contacts. So we're going to do some education-focused podcasts, and I'm honored to make this the first one with my friend Paul. And Paul, by the way, for those of you that are watching the video, that is not a background screen, Paul, correct?
That is the real thing.
And that is not a school. So where in the world are you?
I am here in the Catskill Mountains in New York, flying my Red Sox flag, as you can see, and flying it proud in the state of New York.
I'm guessing you don't have too many neighbors.
I do. We have a few, but they're far away, and they can't see the flag through the trees. And I can't see the Yankees flag, so it works out for everybody.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, welcome and thank you for coming back for another episode. This is going to be a little bit of a different one. So just where are you? What are you doing right now? Where you been? What's new?
Well, as you mentioned, I call it my failed retirement, because I've actually failed miserably in retirement. I actually was retired for maybe 6 or 7 weeks, got through the honeydew list, and then I said, now what do I do? All those things that you say you're going to do when you retire, they just I cleaned them all up. I got plenty more to do, but there's too much to do in the schools and other communities. So I'm out as a consultant. I'm consulting for school departments, acting as an interim facilities director when needed, doing some job coaching with facilities directors, actually starting up a facilities department in one community on the town side where they don't have anyone doing their town facilities. So I'm keeping myself busy in the facilities world in the public sector right now.
Yeah. So my history is 16 years with Dude Solutions, which worked with men and women like you, which are maintenance and operations. Very simply put, the people that fix things that get broken, and the people that keep our buildings clean, healthy, and safe. That's a pretty easy, fair assessment, elevator pitch to explain what it is that you do.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that I've loved for the last 16 years, and we quote it at Dude, is you're the unsung heroes of the schools. And you do 99% of your work is done behind a curtain. If the lights go on and off and the heat stays on or the air conditioning stays on and it looks clean, you've done your job, but nobody knows who does it, right? Right. But you have a lot of work. I mean, and as a leader, you have a ton of work, because you have a staff that, a certain percentage is going to call in every day, but the workload still stays. You have to do, proper staffing levels, because those buildings still need to be taken care of regardless of the scenario or the situation pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
Now we're during COVID.
Yep.
So what I want to do and share with the audience is a couple of things. One, what was life like March 12th or 13th? And how fast and how much did you have to change by March 20th? Because March 13th was like when we stopped the international travel. There was the talking of schools. Schools were getting ready to close. The last, I think, day people could go to school, I think, was March 16th. And then we had to go into this mode. So let's talk about the day or two before we knew this, what you were doing, what you were feeling, and then the week or 2 weeks after that. Because I think for me, I would have been like, I don't even know what I would have done, to be honest with you. So I want to get your perspective on that.
Well, we were doing our regular cleaning, which, we clean up the schools. The majority of our cleaning's done at night, like most people know, after the school is closed for education, and open for everything else in the afternoons. The buildings are used quite a bit. But, it's our typical go through, empty the trash, clean the floors, dust those windowsills, wipe things down. We're all using microfiber now and the latest in technology and chemicals, and cleaning for health and safety it's been a buzzword for probably the past 10 years in the industry. And we're doing a top-notch job now with it. The vendors that are out there, the suppliers, really have a plethora of tools and chemicals to use. So we're going about our regular cleaning. And then, word started coming down. Here it comes. It was almost like watching a snowstorm, if I had to explain it. And we prepared for a snow day. That's the only way I can think about it right now. Everybody thought, yeah, we're going to take Thursday off, and Super will probably call Friday off, and we'll clean the buildings and come in on the weekend, and then we'll be back to business as usual. How bad can this be, right? Look at all those people on the other side of the world. They're all wearing masks and everything. Everybody's overreacting. It's just like influenza. But boy, was that wrong. Because we shut down, and everyone knows now we shut down huge. The whole state, everybody shut down. But in the schools, we continued to clean. We had to make the buildings clean. We weren't sure if and when students would be coming back, or when teachers had to come back. I mean, poor teachers had to scramble into this distance learning, on a day's notice. We let them back in the building, and we followed them around with custodians and disinfectant and rags and clean behind them as they come in. And then as it went on into the second week, we made plans to get them back to get more materials out to people, because we were finding in the community that I'm working in that not everyone had internet access. Not everyone had a laptop. So we had to hand out Chromebooks to many of the students and the families. So we scrambled into setting up curbside pickups for laptops and Chromebooks, so people could continue to learn at home, still letting teachers in the building minimally and separating them as they come in, setting times and schedules, and following everyone that came to the building with a custodian and someone to clean. And then kind of after that, it moved into, there was this lull period where we had one custodian in each building every day, or just to babysit the building to make sure there were no leaks, and heat was on at the time. We still had heat on. Make sure the boilers were running. We had no freeze ups, and just babysit the building. And we would rotate through our staff. The rest of them would stay home. And then we got to the point where we got it's okay to go back to work for the essential personnel in our industry. So we brought all them back. But even with that, we had to, I separated them by shifts. I put two together on a shift and separated them so that they weren't even together. And that's the way we've been working since sometime in May. I don't remember the dates, but and continuing to clean. Now that we know as soon as we knew school wasn't coming back, we immediately went into summer mode. And then we realized we have buildings full of lockers and cubbies with all the students' personal belongings. So, step number one is we needed to bag them, tag them with a name or a locker number, and return them to the students. So we set up curbside delivery for locker contents. And then we had to get teachers back in the room so they could prepare their room for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
All this working in the guidelines of the Massachusetts state COVID guidelines of number of people and keeping a separation and who can come together and wearing a mask and wearing gloves and all the things that typically a custodian will wear gloves, but it gets pretty warm in there and pretty tight when you're wearing a mask and gloves, and you can get a little claustrophobic. But we had to go through all of this learning process of how to work different, but still do the same thing in the end. We're still cleaning, we're still washing, we're washing floors, we're disinfecting. We just did more of it. And we did it multiple times in a day, where before we do it once a day. We cleaned every classroom, we cleaned everything once a day, but we didn't touch every doorknob, we didn't touch every cabinet handle in the office, we didn't touch every push bar, you know, and every door. There's some doors in the building. You know, high school's so big that people don't get to some doors. They're used as emergency exits only. So those were areas that weren't tended to daily. Classrooms every day. Yeah. But touch points became, you know, the new word, the new buzzword. But we were doing a lot of that previous, because we like I said, for about 10 years we've been cleaning for health. It was the buzzword back then.
Yeah. And everything's a touch point now.
Yeah, everything's a touch point.
Every single thing is a touch point. One of the things, you know, when you talk about this stuff is, I don't think people understand the magnitude of additional resources, not just in equipment and chemical and everything else, but the additional resources and stress that's going to put on your staff. Most likely the need for more staff for this to be effective, right? Because I'm hearing all sorts of stuff, and I'm sure you're hearing all sorts of things. And I don't know where one focus or responsibility ends and another one begins. But I mean, we're talking every single school bus is effectively going to be needed to be sanitized, sterilized, and cleaned once the kids are dropped off at school. And then once again, after they're dropped off at home, who's going to, you know, handle that? There's probably going to be, you know, more cleaning than once a day. I know that some schools are talking about, you know, cleaning a space multiple times a day, like staggering class like keeping a classroom, or, you know, moving classrooms around. So there's always going to be a couple classrooms empty, you know, kids leave, you go in and clean it. And then the next period comes in, you know, after you guys do that. I mean, I'm sure you're hearing a ton of stuff. What kind of additional workload and like, what do you, I mean, this is obviously not, everybody's talking about new normal. I hate new normal, right? I hate that word. If I haven't even said, if I say it, punch me in the face.
I forget what the old normal was.
Yeah, exactly. Were we ever normal?
Well, like, yeah. What's normal?
Yeah, there's no normal. But I mean, what are you seeing, and what do you foresee for the world of operations and management in schools across the board?
Just this morning, DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education for the state of Mass, put out guidelines for the future, what we think we will see in September, so that we can plan. The governor has committed $200 million to the efforts. And there's 3 different plans, and they're giving us the leeway, or giving the superintendents and the school committees the leeway to choose whether you're going to go all in person, everybody back into school like it was, or in person some days and learning from home some days, or everybody learns from home. The learning from home thing, I don't think has been perfected at the K-12 level. You know, maybe the upper levels, the kids can adapt to it a little easier. So I'm, you know, from watching my grandchildren and my daughter who's a teacher, I'm not seeing that the educational level is where it should be, you know, at home. But the talk is, we've even broke it down to by the row, because we have to keep a separation. So having an A row and a B row, A, B, A, B, A, B across the classroom. And then all the A kids come in and there's a B row between them. So that's the separation. And we cover the B row. And then all the B kids come in and the A rows are covered with plastic. And then we clean. So A is Monday, B is Tuesday, Wednesday the school's learning from home, A is Thursday, and B is Friday. So on the Wednesday, we're doing a full disinfectant cleaning in the building. And then Friday night and Saturday, we're doing it again to get ready for Monday.
Yeah.
So we're increasing our cleaning and our disinfecting levels, fivefold. And the schedules are all changing. I'm trying to keep my staff apart so that they don't, because if one of them gets infected, I risk of losing a whole building's worth of custodians. Yeah. So, if I got to quarantine the whole building for two weeks, whole building worth of staff for 2 weeks, where do I go to get that help? I can't work the other guys at that level because, we're going to burn everybody out. So we're at a place where we have to look at staffing. We haven't formalized a plan yet. The AB thing is just one plan that's floating around out there. It's a hybrid system of coming to school some days, staying home other days. And then the parents have to worry about, they're going back to work. What do they do on the off days when their kid's home struggling to learn on a computer? So back in the buildings, we're cleaning, and I'm confident that we can get the cleaning and disinfecting done. There's a whole big social thing that's going to go on around it.
Yeah. Not to go off topic, but I'm just listening to you and the ABs and all that stuff. And this is going to be a stupid question, but has any vendor come up with or reached out to you guys or a desk provider that's got a 3-sided plexi desk where you have a plexi wall around the front and sides of each desk?
Yep. I got it yesterday in an email.
Are you serious?
Brilliant. Yep.
Oh my God. I was hoping you were going to say no, because I was going to trademark, patent, copyright, and put it out. That's did you see the bar dividers they have?
Yep.
That's where it came up. That's where I came up with the genius idea, of course, from a bar. But they're putting plexi bar dividers up, which is great, because if you don't like somebody, you can just say you can't hear them.
Yeah, where were they years ago?
Yeah.
But the old study Carol kind of look of 3-sided desktop. I don't know what it would cost. We might take the whole 200 million to outfit schools with that. Here's another one for you. You can copyright this one. In a NASCAR race, when the windshield's dirty, they peel off the vinyl windshield, right? So why don't we stack the desks with 5 or 6 layers of that, and every time the student leaves, they take that off with them and put it in the barrel on the way out. Yeah, so you got a clean surface.
Yeah, I used to race dirt bikes growing up. Not very well, but raced motocross, and we used to have our goggles used to have a pull string on the side. They're called roll-offs. Yeah. And so when you were racing, if you weren't in first, you were getting everybody's roost, and the mud would come, and you'd pull the string, and it would just shoot the plastic across, and then you'd have a fresh screen. It's a great idea.
So we're recording this. If someone else copyrights that, we have to get a kick, right?
Yeah, you'll get a kickback. Yeah.
Good. I get it. Yeah. So for everybody that's watching, if you're thinking of taking the idea, we're going to want our piece.
Yeah. I'm about to make the statement that's going to sound really stupid. $200 million is not a lot of money when we're dealing with COVID for the state of Massachusetts. For people to understand and put into perspective, the average school district size in the country is somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 students. Majority of those are in Massachusetts like that, because we have a lot of small communities. 363, I think, is the number. And COVID management, ASBO, Association of School Business Officials, and AASA, which is the Association of School Superintendents, they did a study, and a school district, which my town of Easton is right in that sweet spot, a school district with 8 buildings and 3,700 kids, to properly manage, maintain, and provide PPE and everything else for that district for 1 year is roughly $1.7 million.
Yeah.
So we'll probably not get more than $1 million or even remotely close out of that 200 million. If you do the math, everybody's going to get $500,000, probably, depending on their size. They're probably going to get scaled on size. That money's not going to go very far. Right. Because there's a lot of work to do. And we just came out with a couple of ideas that could be, life-changing to make a difference, that we're going to come up with all sorts of stuff. Never mind your signage, right? Nobody's got a handle on signage yet. I got a sign guy coming on, hopefully in the next week or so, on both podcast channels to talk about that, because first, and here's the other thing. I came up with this other epiphany yesterday. So I've been locked up for the better part of 106 days or something. My beard I haven't touched. I made my last trip. I flew home March 13th. And our family took a very hard stance. We stayed home. We didn't care what side of what belief or whatever it was. It wasn't worth the risk. My dad's in a senior living center. We pulled him out. He's back at home with my sister. And over almost 50% of the people that were there got it, and many died. So we're glad we did that. But we saw the real side to it. I had 2 clients in New York that passed away from it. We got another client who's a dear friend of mine in New York that he had it, and he's still dealing with the after effects of it. So we've stayed home, and we're okay with it. And we've had a lot of stuff delivered. And I went to the grocery store for like the first time in like 4 months, and I hate the grocery store. I worked in a grocery store from 16 to 19. And grocery store workers, I can't say how much I appreciate you, and seeing these young boys and girls working the cash registers with a mask on for 8 hours a day. I couldn't keep my clip-on tie on for 8 hours a day, and they were working hard, and I really admire and appreciate them. But one of the things that I really appreciated out of all of this is the last probably 20, 25 years I'm going to go with, because that's as far back as I can remember. We've become a society completely consumed with ourselves, and unintentionally, myself included. We stand as close as we can to the baggage claim to wait for our suitcase, opposed to giving people space for them to get their own. We walk in any direction that we want. We push our carts down the left-hand side of an aisle when we should stay on the right, like we're on a road. Like, just common sense stuff. We lost a lot of that. And I went to the grocery store yesterday, and those arrows, like, do you know how much wider the bread aisle is when everybody has to walk in the same direction? Here's what I found. I couldn't see the smiles under the masks. People were happier with the experience at the grocery store yesterday because everyone was doing what they were supposed to do. They weren't getting in people's space. Your personal space. You and I talk about this personal space.
Personal space.
You're getting into my personal space.
Right.
And I love people. I love to hug people. I love to handshake, and I love all that stuff. But I also have a personal space that I need for comfort. And what I found is all of this signage, I call it self-explanatory signage. When I was in junior high school, before class would start, we'd get 15, 20 minutes, and we had 2 courtyards. It was like it was like a figure 8. And we'd all walk and strut and show off our new Air Jordans or Reebok pumps or whatever we had for sneakers, and walk around. We all walked in the same direction on one side of the hall and the same direction on the other side of the hall. And I think that's gonna. I hope. I keep talking about, we're not going to talk about the new normal. I'm going to talk about the new opportunity, and I hope that this new opportunity is going to get us to get back to the mindset of being courteous, considerate, and remembering what side of the aisle we should walk on.
Back to basics. We got to get back to basics.
Out of respect for people. Absolutely, 100%. So I'm seeing a lot of great stuff that can come out of this whole thing. I know we've got a long way to go. I know that there's a lot of uncertainty, but I'm seeing a lot of good stuff. But you talk about distance learning, and I'm going to say this in every single episode related to education. Anyone, yourself included, deserves a round of applause. And if you don't get it, give it to yourself at least once a day. When I posed that first question, there was no plan. There was no like, if this, then this. Who would have ever thought of this? Like, who was sitting around like, oh, this is a possibility? It wasn't even talked about. I mean, I was in Texas on March 8th with Greg Lookabout, and we were talking about cleaning for health and not appearance. And it was kind of COVID, but it wasn't even close to COVID. We were talking about it as if the school was going to stay open while we battled COVID.
Right, exactly. That's what everybody thought.
We weren't talking about it. Like 8 days from then, we're shut down for 3 months. Like,
or a shut down just to clean. It's like a snowstorm, 3 or 4 days, a bad snowstorm or a hurricane. You got no power, so you're out for 4 days.
Right. No. And I think that we were in like this strange paralysis in our brain where we had this, like, I know that I was doing it. I was blocking it off in day, like a number of days.
Yeah.
Right. Even though they said they were going to be closed through the month of March, when March 16th hit, I was like, okay, well, something might come back, something might come online, something might change. Maybe they'll figure something. Like I had this, like I was breaking it all down into like a couple of days, and then April hit, and I'm like, oh shoot, they're closed till May 5th.
Right.
But I was like, oh, that's not so bad, right? And then we get to May 5th, and we're like, well, I think our
gotta go into
numbers.
June.
Yeah, I think we're going to go into a phase rollout, and you guys are looking at like June before we even do phase one. Psychologically, like for us to think about what we've done and accomplished and been through is nothing short of amazing, and educators especially. So when we talk about like that it was tough to get the kids virtual learning, nobody's ever done it before.
Right.
And do virtual learning for a kid below this age of 7. It's hard to get them to pay attention when they're in front of you in a classroom to do what they need to do, never mind at home with all of the distractions. So, you know, I've got a 13-year-old that had to do the distance learning thing. I couldn't be more appreciative and impressed with what they were able to do in a small amount of time.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you've seen many of my presentations, and I always manage to work my children into it.
yeah.
But my daughter is a special ed preschool teacher who teaches a full autistic class of preschoolers.
Oh my God.
Well, think about just traditional preschoolers.
Yeah.
And now throw autism into it, and let's get them in front of a computer and learn. It's like, oh my, how do we do that?
That's amazing.
You know,
That's amazing.
Absolutely amazing. I give my hats off to the teachers. I give them a lot of credit. That it wasn't an easy shift to make. For us, we continued to clean, and our buildings were empty.
Right.
You know, yeah, we had to make changes, but to do what they were doing from home and still have their kids at home.
Right.
You know, my daughter's got a 4-year-old that's home from daycare now,
yep.
and she's got to teach the autistic class on the computer and keep everybody's attention.
Wow.
So, you know, there was so much to it on their end. And we just kept cleaning. I like I said, I kept going to work and noticing there's less and less traffic every day. And then I'm there every day, and we got to a point where, okay, I think everything's clean. Now what?
Right.
You know, we were pulling books out of the library individually, wiping down books in the school libraries. We took out every round ball in the gym storage, from softball, baseball, soccer ball, kickball, volleyball, and my guys set up a 3-station dunking station where they wet the ball in one barrel, and they took the ball, and the next guy took it and he put it in a cleaning solution, and the third guy took it and put it in disinfectant, and then rolled it across the floor to the fourth guy, and as it rolled, all the excess water and moisture was rolling off, and the person at the other end put it back up on the rack. So every piece, every bat, every tennis racket, everything in that gym storage was cleaned and disinfected. So
you just brought a good thought for me to kind of go into, which is some new best practices or interesting things. That's one of them. So I'd like for you to share if there are any others that this has all brought you guys to, like, hey, let's do this differently, or this is something that we're going to have to do. But on that ball disinfect and sanitize process, do you envision having to do that regularly moving forward, i.e. either every gym class or every day? Like, I had a conversation with someone, I was talking about you behind your back yesterday. You don't worry, most of it's good.
Good.
But no, I was talking about, the realization that there's about 1 million things that we haven't thought of on the impact of COVID that's going to happen until we reopen school.
Right.
And I think one of them is things like that. If this is a situation, kids are still going to have phys ed gym class. They're still going to kick, throw, and play with basketballs, footballs, soccer balls. Obviously, hands, feet are going to hit that. And that's potentially going to hit someone in the face. And whatever's on, it's going to, I don't even know how COVID spreads from a ball to someone's mouth or whatever. But there's a high likelihood or possibility that school's going to start up and they're going to say, wait a second, time out. These balls, they need to be sterilized, sanitized, and cleaned after every class. So you got to buy a whole nother set of balls, have a backup set. Like how far does this go?
Yeah.
Is that something you envision? And then what are some other interesting creative things that you might have done? Are there other interesting creative things that you guys are doing to cover all the bases?
I mean, that one was definitely the most creative, and I got to give it credit to all of my custodians in that high school building. They did it on their own. I didn't lead them into that. I just walked into it and it was happening. But I can see that happening on a regular frequency, because think about it. The AD buys, a dozen basketballs, takes them out of the pack, they fill them with air. Who ever goes back to a basketball and cleans it?
Yeah.
Think about any sport other than, baseball and the MLB, they change the ball quite often. And golf, there's the little ball washing stations. In the major league sports, yeah, they're throwing them out and they're getting new ones. We don't do that in the public world of schools, but no one's ever cleaned them.
Right.
No one has ever cleaned them.
And with golf, they only clean them because it has dirt on it so that the ball flies further. It's not for any sort of sanitized. Before you go into best practice, just came up with another invention.
Yep, go for it.
Going to take it from bowling. And I know they don't do it at bowling, but what if we made, right? What if we made something like a bowling ball, like conveyor? The bowling ball goes down the pins and then the ball magically rolls up and comes through the tube. What if you have like a little 4-foot tube that you drop a ball in and it rolls through a UV light and then it comes out the other side, doesn't get wet, and it's ready.
UV is the next big thing now.
Oh man.
How about putting it on the ball return?
That's what I'm saying.
Every time the ball comes back, it comes right through that tube.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Right back into the carrier. Yep.
Bingo. Instantaneous.
Yep.
Oh, that's gold.
That's it.
I'm going to put that down.
You're going to save this recording, aren't you?
Yeah. I might not release this till I get all my patents done. Yeah. Let's just see real quick. I got to do this. They already have it.
See that?
Already got it.
They beat us to it.
UV ball sanitizer. Uvone sanitizing station. I don't know if I want to give these guys any credit without a sponsorship or something.
Maybe they could be your next podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, look, there's a whole bunch of people that are claiming to have. Okay, I just have to. I don't even know anything about it, but this has just got a cool name to it. The Germ Ninja Sport Ball Sanitizer. I don't know if it works.
Yeah.
But Germ Ninja, love it.
Yeah.
So
catchy name.
But no, what else have you come into or come across that's like, wow, I didn't know. Going down every book. I mean, that's
wiping down every book. And I think for people that are in the industry, the vendors, since this COVID hit, you get 10 or 12 emails a day from vendors. I've got the latest and greatest. I've got this. I try that. So if you have, a good set of vendors that you're comfortable with, and trusting them to give you the ideas and stuff that I probably wouldn't have looked at in the past. Short-handled mops. Who would ever thought of a 3-foot mop? You use it to clean the tops of the desks. Because when you're holding a mop up at this level, you don't need a 6-foot handle.
Yeah.
So we purchased microfiber mops, and they've got an adjustable handle, so we can use them at 6 feet if we need them. But you can bring them down to 3 feet, and you don't have to swing that big mop around on the top of the thing, and you just drop the pads into a sanitizing solution, and you pick up another pad that they Velcro on, and you just peel them off. So I thought that was a great, and that came from one of our vendors.
Who did that come from? JP?
That was from JP. Yep.
I gotta tell you. Anybody.
And now we can go through, a classroom in no time and clean the tops of those desks and sanitize the top of those desks.
Yeah, I'll tell you, anybody that's listening that's in cleaning, sanitation, maintenance, and operations, supply needs. There's two go-to guys. JP Mayo at Hilliard, right? Yep. He's at Hilliard. JP Mayo at Hilliard. I've known this guy for about part of 20 years. One of the most knowledgeable, creative, makes common sense, real simple stuff, and comes up with ideas. And then Rick Green from Lacar. Those two guys I contact on a regular basis. strongly would tell you to get those guys. If not, make sure that your vendors will take care of you. The one thing I will say, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, hey, what do you know about this? Or what do you know about that? One of the things I saw was someone was selling thermal, I'm sure you've seen them, the thermal scan stations. Again, I don't know if that's what they're called, but you walk up to it. It's like it's a 3-sided plexi with a tabletop with a tablet on it, and you walk up and it's got some scanning ability to take a temperature of you, and it's like $4,000. The one thing I'll tell you is anything that comes out today, maybe pause until at least tomorrow, because stuff happens very fluid, very quick.
Yeah.
And changes are made. We were going to have every entrance was going to have a temperature taking, and multiple times a day. So all these people came out to the market real quick, and what do you say? Lo and behold, a week later, that's not a requirement. So you could have dumped a bunch of money into this stuff. So definitely do your homework. Definitely investigate into things. Not saying it's not right, but the most important thing that you touched on, like we sit here and we easy to drop JP's name. I knew it, like when you say that, because every time I see him, he'll say, hey, look, check this out. And I'm looking at whatever it is. And to many, it's just a mop, but he has a creative way of how do you use it. And
he's constantly teaching. He's
constantly learning and constantly teaching 100%. But what that is, that's a trusted go-to advisor to help you, not necessarily to sell you. And there's a lot of people in the market right now that just want to sell you. So you got to make sure you're doing your homework. You got to make sure, like this thermal station company, they're a document management company. I applaud them for making an effort and making a pivot, but it's been 3 months. They can't sell you on their lifelong experience of understanding everything else.
Right.
So make sure you're real careful. Make sure if you don't have trusted vendors that you're working with, make sure you find some, because this is the time. I have been telling people, give way more than you get back, always. But most importantly, you need to give more now with nothing in return, no expectation in return, because this is when people are going to remember it. And this is when the real relationships are going to be made that are lifelong and lasting. You and I have been through a lot together. We've been through swine flu, bird flu, the worst recession of all time, the Iraq-Afghanistan war. We've gone through a lot of stuff over the years. And I think a lot of the foundation was built during tough times where we were looking out for one another on both sides. And that's important for people to understand right now. Don't, and snake oil salesmen, beware.
So I got a real quick story about an idea by one of my custodians that didn't go as well. I'm working, I'll tell you that the town it's Northbridge, Mass.
Yeah.
And their mascot is a ram, the Rams.
Yeah.
So in the lobby, they have this beautiful lobby when you walk in the front entrance, auditorium on one side, gymnasium on the other side, great layout. In the lobby is this big stone and this bronze ram. He's probably half size. And it's the place that the kids go. They all hang on the rock. They take their picture with the ram. Everything you see with these kids has got that ram in the background. So I go into the lobby one day, and there's the ram, and it is shining. It's glistening wet, soaking wet. It's glistening. And it's obvious that it's not water to me, because there's no puddle on the floor. And I go over, and my custodian's there, and I says, what's up with the ram? I mean, this looks like a thoroughbred horse after the Kentucky Derby. If you've ever seen the horses, how sweaty and wet they are. Yeah. I said, what's up? He said, well, the kids are all here, and with this flu that's coming, he said, I thought it might be a good idea that they say hand sanitizer kills it. So I poured the bottle of hand sanitizer all over him. So he covered the bronze ram with hand sanitizer. And now it's making its way down the ram and onto the rock and then the floor.
Oh my God.
The wax is peeling up on the floor from the alcohol that's in the hand sanitizer. I don't know what it's done to the bronze.
Yep.
And then the rock, it's probably stained for life, but we're going to call it the COVID ram now. And the ram is safe, but the rock might not make it.
Oh my God. Well,
so I applaud him for his effort. And he was thinking sanitizer makes the cleaning. The kids are always touching the ram. Put the two of them together. Let's sanitize the ram.
Yep.
I can see his thought process.
I'll tell you what. Well, you gotta have a thought process, and you also you're constantly always thinking like, did I do the right thing? Did I watch this? Did I watch that?
Right.
And I told you I was at a town meeting and I got up and spoke on Monday, and they were saying how they had a table with wipes and hand sanitizer.
Yep.
And I've never had to do that when I go up and speak in front of a microphone. I have to do that in my office, like it's me, right? So I go up. And I'm thinking to myself, did the person before me wipe it down? Am I supposed to wipe it down? What do I do? And thank God the camera that was above all of this, I get so nervous. I grab the wipe. I bring out like 16 of them. I'm trying to wipe down the microphone. Then I go touch another part of the microphone to move it. I'm like, oh, now I got to wipe that down. Then I get done and I whack the sanitizer from my hand and it blasts all over the place. So now I'm doing this to the microphone, getting the sanitizer off, trying to wash my hands. It was a disaster because we're not used to it. We're not used to doing this, and we're not used to and then I'm sitting here going, I'm talking through a mask. Like, why did I do all this? Nothing's getting out anyway, including my voice. So no, this is just crazy.
And I think the bottom line here for people to get back to the school things, that the bottom line is that we've got a whole bunch of really smart people out there that are helping us. Mm-hmm. A large work staff. Probably not large enough right now, but cleaning the buildings. And we're thinking way ahead on what we need to do when those students and staff come back.
Yeah.
So, we're not, none of this is going to open without thought and plans.
Yeah.
And without, like we said, vendors behind us, chemicals that we need, equipment that makes it easier and faster to do what we have to do to make it safe and clean for all the staff and the kids to come back. And that's the main goal. Nobody wants to see this thing go back into a surge again.
Right.
So, for people that are listening and have school-age kids, I don't think anybody's school department is going to open those doors without a lot of thought and planning.
Yeah. And I mean, this is across the country, but I mean, Massachusetts in particular is a very, very close-knit community as a state. You're part of, and we'll wrap it up because you got to go spend some time. I'm gonna tell you something. I've been listening to those birds chirp.
Yeah.
And when I'm done with this, I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna listen to those roosters crow and make my calls for the rest of the day, because it just looks like just a beautiful, perfect day there.
Yeah, give Steve my best, will you?
Oh yeah, Steve. He's got no tail. The other roosters have been beating him up. It's got it coming to him. But we've talked about this on, I think, a previous podcast, but you're part of a state association that if there are people that are in a community in Massachusetts that you want to make sure your facility director, facility staff is part of this association. They have, from what I understand, one of the most active listservs of facilities, school-based facilities managers that are asking each other questions, updating each other almost daily, if not daily. You're having monthly virtual meetings and all these different things. But it's the Mass Facilities Administrators Association, Massachusetts Facilities Administrators Association. Give a shameless plug for that real quick. Tell everybody a little bit about what that is, because I think every school district, I think you guys got just about every school district, but every school district in the state, if they aren't a member, I believe has to be a member.
Right. And we're a pretty active group. Back when we could be in person, we had, 5 different chapters across the state. Some of the smaller ones out by the Berkshires where the air gets thin. Mm-hmm. But we met monthly. We do a conference every year, a 3-day conference full of education and packed with all of those vendors that we just talked about to help us with things just like this. And we have for the people that don't come out, we do have an active website, and our question and answer board, our message board, is constantly going. It dings every 2 or 3 times a day. If someone has a question, mm-hmm. they put it out there, and there's someone else that's done it.
Yep.
You never have to reinvent the wheel. From a boiler spec to how do I clean for COVID. Mm-hmm. I can't tell you how it's been buzzing on who's doing what. Who's got their staff in during the day? Who's got their staff separated day and night? How many staff are you putting together? Who's bringing their full staff back? Things mm-hmm. like that have gone on through this whole COVID time that is communicated through our website. Yep. All virtual. And so even as a member, you don't have to show up and drive to a meeting. you
Right.
can be present. Our executive director, Ken Wirtz, does a fantastic job of putting information up all over the board on the latest thing, the latest technology, the latest cleaning, all those things. It's it's worthwhile to be a member and just have some place to go. And if nothing else, it's good therapy to talk to the other people in the industry that are doing your job and know that you're not alone.
Yeah, 100%. And are you taking on new consulting work, or are you pretty set with where you're at? What does your retirement life look like?
At the interim job I'm doing now in Northbridge, we've got 3 finalists for the permanent job. So I'll do a little crossover with them, but yeah, I'm ready to. I'm starting to look forward to the next challenge, and see what comes up.
So somebody's interested in having you intern, consult, do whatever. How do they get a hold of you? Where do they go? Email, phone, got a website, any of that stuff?
I don't have a website. You can look me up on LinkedIn. It's Paul Anastasi, or email me at panastasi10@gmail.com.
Yep.
Or right through the MFA website. If someone goes to the Mass Facilities Administrators website, my information's there. Or there's phone numbers to get in touch with people there, and most people will know who I am and how to get a hold of me. So my wife has been retired before me, and she wants me out of the house. So please help my marriage and keep me working.
She wants to enjoy her retirement by putting you back, getting you back to work. Totally
Right.
Get it. Yeah, I get it. That's
She said, where did you come from? It was nice and quiet in this house until you retired.
Yeah, I've been home for like 100 and I don't know, it's over 100 days, like 105, 107 days, and which is the longest I've been home since 2002. For any set straight line of time, consistent. I've only worn pants with a belt once. That was for the town meeting on Monday, so I have that going for me. But yeah, I think Amy's like, got any place to go? Can you give somebody a free speech somewhere instead of doing it in the basement?
Yeah, you end up traveling 3 weeks a month to be at home constantly. She must be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally doing virtual keynotes in the basement now. I was doing it in the garage, but it got too hot. I didn't think that one through.
Yeah.
Did one 2 weeks ago, and I'm just sweating bullets. I wore a hat and everything. I just didn't care because I thought I was actually going to have like heat stroke. So moving everything down to the basement. So and Chance, in case you didn't hear, you get birds chirping. I get Chance running like a lunatic down the hallway, just yelling because of my showing that I was speaking when you were talking.
I thought it was one of the roosters. I heard it, but
no, yeah, no.
That's Chance.
Oh yeah, he runs full steam down the hall, and he doesn't stop until he hits the wall.
Yeah,
He's a legit linebacker.
You know what they say: apple trees grow apples. Right? When they fall, they don't fall far.
Peach trees do the same.
That's right. You can't get by me with that one. I know where he gets it.
No. Well, listen, Paul, I can't thank you. As I always say, most importantly for our friendship, I value that more than anything. First and foremost, you're a great friend, and I appreciate you making the time while you're up on vacation, getting ready for the family to come up to help me with educating my listeners with what's going on, what's happened, what's going on, and what to be prepared for, as well as for us to think about, all of the worry and everything that's going on in the news and all the discussions and everything. I think it's important for the world to know that there's amazing people like you that are on the front lines of schools every day to make sure that these schools are as healthy and as safe and as equipped for reoccupying, and you're thinking through every different little scenario and detail, and getting yourself prepared for the what ifs. I think that this whole thing is going to give a playbook for the future of what if this happens. Like, there's not much else we can come up with that would be a scenario that would exceed this, right? And we did it. We're on the other side of it for now. We don't know what the next thing is, but I think we're more equipped now than ever to tackle just about anything. And I really appreciate you giving your insight and our inventions. Like, I mean, we should just sit down and just come up with a whole bunch of inventions and just Google search and see if the Germ Ninjas come out. Because I mean,
Something's going to click sooner or later.
Yeah. Well, I was going to call it the COVID Ninja, COVID Killer Ninja, or something like that. Now I can't. Now I can't do it. But no, really appreciate you, my friend. Go enjoy your vacation, and I'm sure we'll do another podcast because these are always fun.
This is great. Always good to be talking to you, Josh. Take care.
You too, my friend. And that will do it for this episode of the Be Awesome podcast. This has been the most wild, crazy, inspirational, sad, difficult, challenging time of probably all of our lives. I know for me, I wake up some days and I just go, I don't know how we're going to get through today. And then I realized that we got through yesterday and it was pretty damn bad. This is, as I keep telling people, this is what's known as the disillusionment phase of the 6 phases of disaster. This is the crash phase. This is when we're our worst to ourselves and worst to others around us. And all we got to do is keep reminding ourselves to be good to one another. And the phase 6 is going to come. It takes a while, but it's the rebuild phase. That's hopefully going to get us excited again and looking to the future and opportunity. And we don't need to talk about new normal. It's never going to be normal. Nothing's ever going to be normal in life. Kids, if you got kids, they'll be the first to remind you that there is nothing normal about your life, because like I said, Chance was just trucking down the hallway and I'm pretty sure that he shoulder blocked something hard. So, but that will do it for this episode. As I always close out with every episode, ratings, reviews, shares, comments, anything you can do to help promote Be Awesome and the Be Awesome podcast, I greatly appreciate it. If I'm doing a great job, go onto iTunes podcast, give me 5 stars, tell the world what you think. If I'm not, send me an email, josh@beawesome, BEAUSM. Let's talk it out and see what I can do better so that I can earn that 5-star rating, because that's what I want. I want to be 5 stars for as many people as I can be. I know I'm not a fit for everyone, but I do want to try to be a fit for anyone as long as I get the opportunity. So in the meantime, if you can be anything, be awesome, hang in there, and have a great day.